All right,
Hello.
can you hear us?
Yes.
Okay,
So just to clarify, Michelle and Drew, since you're both here or not here because of circumstances that are permitted in open meeting law, to still vote.
so you get to vote.
So yeah, you'll just give your vote, and then at the time, you'll also give permission to Bob to sign for you. So we'll just do that. But I just wanted to confirm that and also say that on the record.
Okay, let's call this meeting to order at 6:36 on November 21st. This is the Public Safety General Government Committee meeting. We do not have a report from Emily Hauser for the CAC, so I'm going to skip that item. Let's talk about traffic on Pine Street. Alderwoman Worthington submitted a correspondence and a petition asking for people asking for a speed bump, which is really not something that we would do anyway. But our process calls for that to be referred to the city engineer and to the Director of Public Works for their input. So I'm going to suggest that we do that. I don't think it requires yes, ma'am.
If that's already been done.
Okay, good.
Usually I'll just, as soon as I get the communication, if it's something that needs it, I'll just take care of that.
Sounds great.
And I also taught when Rita sent that, because I said the speed bump doesn't need legislation first of all, so it's not really a thing that the council would move towards. Second of all, speed bump is not something that we would put on the street.
Right.
If anything, it'd be a speed hump.
Right.
I guess details, but it actually
No, makes a huge difference.
it makes a huge difference. And I also suggested Rita to talk to them because, that's what has happened. I don't support speed humps
Right.
often. I think it's, something that we have to be really, really careful for reasons that constituents have actually emailed us on.
That's
I
right.
think we all saw those emails and following those, but I did send it to John and Ed and Brian just to see if they have some suggestions, and I haven't heard back. It may be one where we add to the list for the speed signs to collect some data.
That my suggestion would be that we put a speed sign out there without the feedback function, so that they collect real data on how fast people are going. It'll gather data
Without the actual.
without this feedback. It'll gather data without the feedback, and then you'll know. Because one comment we got from the public was that the speed feedback signs cause people to drive slowly because they get the feedback. If you take that off, you'll see how they're actually driving.
Do you think that is as much of a concern with the smaller ones? Because I could see that with the big signs that KPD has, and you could see it from like half a mile away,
Right.
that,
No, I think even the small ones.
No, the small ones, there's actually a new small one that was installed on Lucas Avenue.
yeah, they're in.
I know. And I've noticed, because I drive that road all the time, I've noticed that people do slow down.
Yes.
Yeah, I noticed it when we were doing the practice on Hasbrook, but it also
Collects data.
it collects data, and it is, especially at night, from 7 PM to
I
7
would
AM. Because John and Ed sent me the report, 70 miles per hour.
See, there's
Multiple times
And
on
night.
Hasbrook
I
Avenue.
believe it.
there's an enforcement issue.
Yeah.
Right, but enforcing it at 3 in the morning, right.
Right.
This is
When it's happening,
when
right?
it's happening is the challenge. But I did find interesting, I actually drove on Pine Street when I was coming here, just to see what it was about. And what was interesting is there are sidewalks on both sides of the street, but people were actually walking in the street.
So do you know, because that was gonna be my other point, if how the sidewalks are, and I don't know, Drew or Sean, this isn't your board, but if you just know, like, because that was part
What
of the
kind of condition
petition.
are they?
Well, I couldn't tell because I was driving at night and it was dark, so I couldn't tell.
That is
What
something
they
we
were,
should
but I have to say they
encourage, is walking on
Walking on
sidewalks.
sidewalks, we should definitely encourage where they have them. I mean, where I find the greatest speed issues are where there are no sidewalks and people have to walk in the street if they're gonna walk down the street. And there are a lot of situations like that, like one of his constituents who wrote to us described.
But we'll hear from the Complete Streets Council. One of the principles of these things is that
Okay,
when sidewalks are impassable, people walk in the street. So
Right,
if the
so that's why I
sidewalks-
was wondering how the
I don't know the conditions,
sidewalks
but
were.
it's likely that they're
well,
not walkable.
I don't know.
Street.
Yeah, I do that, there's a couple little sections on Hasbrook where when it's dark and the sidewalk isn't you know, especially beside where it heals
Mhm.
most of the time, so maybe that's a little bit my fault too, but yeah, but I'll hop on the street for that reason, so I was wondering about the sidewalks on there, but if it's just a choice and the sidewalks are walkable.
Well, I'll drive by and look tomorrow.
Or walk by.
Right, I could walk by and look, but I think it was because these were two people who had umbrellas and they wanted to walk side by side, and you couldn't do that on the sidewalk.
Yeah, I mean, I just think now we have more people, more drivers after recovering from COVID, you know, when you would drive around and it was a ghost town, everybody was home. And there are more and more people driving around that I think we should be encouraging folks
To walk.
walk, but to walk safely, and that means to use the sidewalks when they have the sidewalks.
Right, and there are sidewalks on both sides of Pine Street in that section.
Yeah, so that's what I would, those are the steps that I've heard, so I did send this to the appropriate people. I could put it on the list,
Well,
I know
yeah.
it's going to
They'll
West,
get back.
it's going to Westchester Street, Michelle. The speed signs, and then, once they get to there, I don't know how many else they have on the list.
I'm sure there's quite a long list.
Thanks, Andrea. When would they go?
They are, I was told that the batteries need to be charged soon, so it should be really soon. I was gonna reach out to you and figure since it was brought up. So I would, if you want to send an email to that group,
Thank you.
and just let them know that Westchester is up. Ed and I were talking about like a good location, so I'm helping him find that just because I heard the same concerns that you have. But if you want to reach out to them, it's next on the list. I mean, we
Great.
just got them and they put them on Lucas and East Chester because they're two of the bigger ones. So as soon as their batteries die, which should be really soon. Because that's the thing, when they move, when the batteries, when they have to recharge the batteries, then they're gonna move them to different location. But I'll let you know when it's for sure.
Okay, so would it be helpful to record the speeds the way Bob just said, that we could turn off the actual sign so people don't see how fast they're going, so we are recording?
I think,
Start
at
that
least
way.
one of the spots that they put it, I think on East Chester, they tried that method.
Mhm.
So I guess we could look at the data and see and compare it to what we got on Hasbrook when we were doing the trial, because for that, it was on the full time. So we could see, you know, it's two different streets, obviously, but we could see which one would be the smarter choice, but.
Well, it may depend upon what John wants to learn.
Right, and we could also try it for 1 week and then turn them off, because I think you could do that remotely. I think these
Okay.
feedback signs, you could do that, so if you don't mind, I can talk to Ed about it and see.
Sure.
And let you know, but yeah, I was gonna tell you, we should let that email group know that it's coming.
Right, yep. So just, I want to let Bob know that, you know, when John looked at the situation, there's a very, very, I forget exactly how, like, it's probably over 2,000 feet without stop signs in between, so that's.
It's good to know. Drew, yes, Drew.
Yes, so we're also having the same complaint downtown on First Avenue. We had a resident write me, and I think wrote the mayor, and we contacted Chief Tinty. So it would be great to have something like that down there so they know that we're taking this serious, and it's like 3 complaints that I've gotten, and I'll write something up and send it. But is that all I need to do in order to get some action?
Yeah, so I can explain it, so I think we ordered 3 signs.
Okay.
Have you seen them yet?
No, I haven't seen the signs.
Okay, it was on Hasbrook for a couple of weeks, but that was just on trial, and then so we have one on East Chester right now, and I think 2 on Lucas.
Okay.
Because those are the streets that DPW hears the most complaints, so they went first. And then Michelle and I have really been advocating for Westchester Street, because we have heard a lot about that street. But our plan is not technically a policy, because this is a DPW, they volunteer to oversee all of this. So
Okay.
what we're gonna do is reach out to Ed and let him know, can you please put on the speed spec on whatever street, First Ave, you said.
First Avenue and
it-
Kingston Street.
Yeah, so he'll keep track of the list, and whenever the battery needs to be charged, they'll go out and then because there's 2 batteries, so it could be constant, but that's the life of the battery, then we'll move to whichever one, and they'll keep track. It's not just council members, but it would be KPD, engineering, and of course DPW. So there's no guarantee, but since they're new, if you email him pretty soon,
All right.
you might get on there fairly soon.
All right. I'll be on that tonight.
Okay, yeah, so just add an email saying, can you please add this?
Yep. Thank you.
Okay. You know, traffic and speeding is a big deal. It's everybody's thing.
It is a very big deal.
It's, you know, it's complicated.
Mhm.
Let's move to the next item agenda. Our next item on the agenda, handicap parking at 276 West Chestnut Street. We have a request for installation of a handicap parking sign because somebody who lives there is about to take care of their mother who's handicapped, and they want to put a sign in front of their house, which I think is a great idea. She's 95 years old, and we don't want her falling down or walking long distances.
Yeah, no, okay, I mean, Michelle can talk about it more, but it's, you know, it's not gonna. Yeah, it's great.
Yeah, I submitted the current placard from Minnesota, and as soon as she arrives, she'll get the new placard for Kingston.
Okay. Do we have a motion?
I'll move.
Second?
Second,
Second, okay. This is installation, good, okay. Any discussion?
no,
Seems
just
good.
thank you.
Okay, all in
Seems good
favor?
to do.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Everybody get to vote? I get right,
And
you
then
guys
you
vote?
just, you just
I
ask
get to sign for you,
permission.
I got permission to sign this,
Yes.
report for the 2 of you?
Thank you.
Yes.
2 nods and 2 thumbs up.
Okay, good deal.
Thank you.
The next one, oh, I just signed for Sarah, sorry. You have to sign someplace else.
I'll write my name.
Okay. The next one is the removal of a handicap sign at 42 Wall Street. There's people who have moved in there, and the people who needed the handicap sign no longer live there. It's been languishing, we should get it down. I'll entertain a motion to remove the sign, the handicap parking sign at 42 Wall Street.
Motion,
Motion,
Second.
okay. Any discussion?
no, sounds good.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? So I do have permission to sign for Michelle and for Drew.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, great. I'll do that. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Oh, could I just ask a quick question?
Absolutely.
This goes back to the traffic on Pine Street. If people should ask, this it actually has been, we're awaiting a response from engineering and,
Yeah, I'll follow up and make sure we get the report.
So
Okay,
then
Or,
they've
Okay.
been pretty good at turnaround, but they do have a lot of work, so.
they do.
yeah, some of them are really quick and some, like, so even the handicap signs, the process is, so like Michelle sent in the handicap parking, I checked it on the code, I didn't see an issue, forwarded to them, said, do you guys see an issue? Usually with that, it's just Ed coming back and saying, no issue.
Okay,
You know, so something like that is really, most of the time, we've had some issues, but most of the time it's not so bad. Some of the other bigger issues, I'll again check the code just to see if there's anything that we can grab a hold of immediately. And then, you know, I send it to them as soon as I get it,
right.
and then I try and track it. But yeah, some of the bigger, like the Pine Street might take a little bit longer.
And so just from a process point of view, so what will happen is they'll review it, they'll issue a response, a statement, a recommendation back to this committee, and then we'll have another discussion, or what's the next step?
It depends. Sometimes they'll say, no, it's good questions. Sometimes if it's something that doesn't need legislation, the alderman or alderwoman who submitted it might just say, okay, that's great, let's just do it.
Oh, okay,
So, for example, in front of Governor Clinton's, taking out the no right on red sign that
Yes.
happened a while ago, that doesn't need council legislation. So it was sent to the council, I forwarded it, they were like, let's just take it down, we don't need it, so then I took it off the agenda.
okay,
So we work closely together and.
right, and not everything needs to have a law.
Exactly. And I'll usually, if it's from an alderman, I will tell them what it is, because sometimes they still want it in a meeting. And that's fine, like for this, with Rita's, I said this speed bump doesn't need legislation, you could probably just go directly to them, but she wanted the committee to know about it and discuss
Okay,
it.
sure.
So I'll always tell whoever it is what is happening. Does that answer?
Yes, it does, yeah.
And probably even more than we wanted to know.
No, I'm trying to learn the process, so this is, it's not, yeah, it's exactly what I wanted to.
Great.
I'll do a motion to adjourn. I can even take that from one of those guys.
Motion.
Okay, Michelle.
Second.
Second by, all in favor?
Aye.
With that.
Happy Thanksgiving to everyone.
Happy holidays. Happy
Happy Thanksgiving.
Have a good night.
Thanksgiving, Lisa.
Get well, Michelle.